'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and today I'm going to be talking about Skrulls. And I'm going to be putting it blunt, I don't like Skrulls very much. So Skrulls, if you didn't know, are these green aliens with pointy ears in the Marvel universe that can shapeshift and look like anybody else. That's their whole shtick. They're shapeshifters, and they can also gain abilities, super abilities of different superheroes. Depending, not all of them can do that, but a lot of them do that. And yeah, that's the basic gist of it. They have their entire history, and they have their own belief system and religion and a whole thing. But for as long as I've known Marvel history, and I'm not saying I'm a savant in Marvel history, but for as long as I've been introduced and aware of Marvel's history, these Skrulls have always been my least favorite part of it. These Skrulls exist in this way, and their stories tend to wrap around this idea of anybody can be a Skrull. That on paper lends itself well to a political thriller or a horror movie or something. Like, you cannot tell who to trust. You don't know if they're lying, if they're actually a Skrull or not. And so the Skrulls are typically painted in this negative light, much like we've just recently seen in Marvel's Secret Invasion show. And in that show, the Skrulls are mostly bad people. There are a couple that aren't, but they're painted as this weird combination of refugees, but also, they want to invade and destroy the Earth. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'll take a step back. In Captain Marvel, when the Skrulls were set to show up, and we knew for a long time that the Skrulls were going to show up in Captain Marvel, I went in with this notion already. I didn't like Skrulls, and I'll get more into the backstory of why. But Captain Marvel was going to feature them, and they're going to be a decent part of it. And when I went into that movie, and they weren't the problem I expected them to be. They weren't the villains. They were painted in this refugee light, and I thought that was very topical. I thought that was very clever. I thought that was very interesting, and a great way to use the Skrulls and completely destroy my preconceived notions. Get that out of here. That's not what we're doing here. We're doing something better and more interesting. And I applauded that, and I liked Captain Marvel a good bit more because of that. Fast forward, and most of that goodwill has been destroyed. So my whole problem with the Skrulls, the shape-shifting ability, is they lend themselves way too well for retconning, backtracking, erasing. Any problem a writer has with a character, or maybe a death they didn't like, or say you're writing a story, kind of how comics are written sometimes, where the worlds are connected. Like, some people will have an entire run of a comic book, within a sequel comic book will be made by somebody else. Say you didn't like that they killed off a character in the comic before you. You really love that character. Well, you can just say that death was actually just a Skrull. Easy peasy. No problem at all. All of a sudden we have that character back. Retconned. Easy. Say people are complaining that the character isn't the same as they used to be, and they're doing stuff that's out of pocket, or being strange. This isn't the character I fell in love with. Oh, actually, that was been a Skrull for a little while, actually. And so that's why they've been acting strange. Don't worry, they were just a Skrull. It's so frustrating to know that when Skrulls are involved, something like that's gonna happen. Nothing like that, the erasure of a death, or just, this character is different than how people remember. Maybe they'll be better now because they were a Skrull, so we'll fix them, don't worry. Nothing happened in Secret Invasion that's quite that bad, but it does bring up the point that we knew that somebody was going to have to be a Skrull, right? When I heard that we're doing Secret Invasion again, like I say again, it's going to be adapted from the comics, I was like, okay, who's it going to be? There's no way they're going to go through this entire show and not have somebody be a Skrull. But that's annoying to me, because it's not a cool twist. It's like, what? They were a Skrull the whole time? And I don't spoil it. You probably know who it is, but I won't say who it is, because it's one of the things that show even has. And I'm not trying to dump on the show itself. I didn't like it, but that's not technically what this video is about. So I will save my opinions of the whole show to the side. I didn't like it, but that's that. So, of course, they had to be a Skrull. It's not a surprise. I wasn't surprised. I don't think anyone else was surprised. There wasn't this huge burst of internet talk. There was nothing. There was no hype or anything. So, it's like a big, like, here it's gone. And, of course, that could have worked. It could have been a big thing if Skrulls, like, weren't around or anything. Like, I could see that being a great after-credit scene if we didn't know about the Skrulls yet. We didn't know all this backstory, what they were doing, and general audiences would have, like, exploded. Like, what is that? Like, why are they green now? I didn't care. I don't think anyone else cared. It was obvious that someone was going to be, and pretty much everyone guessed who was going to be beforehand. So, the thing with the Skrulls is that they're such a weird device to use in a story. And stories like what the Skrulls are capable of have worked time and time again throughout history. Like The Thing, perhaps, is a fantastic movie. Or, lo and behold, that game from a couple years ago that I don't want to say the name of. Those exist in this way of, we don't know who we can trust. We don't know who is lying. Someone here is an alien. Someone here is lying and trying to get us. Skrulls could work like that. But the thing is Skrulls are typically in a big event. They are worldwide. They're this big thing. They're never like this small little condensed story of like there's one Skrull and it's like, who is it? We don't know. We can't tell. But it could work if you did it like that. Or you can do it big, but I've yet to see it done big well, where it's like this global thing, and it's like, oh, I don't know who was anybody. Anybody could be trying to, like, twist the knife on me. I can't trust, like, the people I've come to know because they can just be swapped out. But that's got to take a masterful writing job to pull something like that off and make the twists work and make the reveals work. Just plucking somebody and saying they were a Skrull for the last couple years, that's not it. That doesn't work. And even if the history tracks, it's still the best you can say is that it doesn't matter. So is that better than saying it's bad? I don't know. Maybe. But that's Skrulls, man. Yeah, I've never really liked them. You know, as a kid, I just didn't like how they looked at how they were creepy and weird. And as I've grown up and learned more comics and stuff, I haven't grown any attachment to them. Yeah, and this isn't to dump on the new strongest character in the MCU. I don't really care. It's not. It is Super Skrull, but it's not Super Skrull, because Super Skrull from the comics isn't the one in the show. But they like kind of like verging on that. But obviously they're not using Fantastic Four stuff for Super Skrull because Fantastic Four is not in the comics yet. So maybe they'll do that later. I don't know. Secret Wars. I'm already so sick of the Skrulls. I was done with them after Captain Marvel when that movie came out, and it kind of came and went. And I was like, the Skrulls, if that's what we're doing, great. We're done, right? Like the Kree, like we're not seeing Kree pop up all over the place. But now we gotta deal with the Skrulls. I thought the Skrulls were gonna be treated like the Kree, and it was gonna be a one and done kind of dealio. And now, but alas, here we are. What are your opinions on Skrulls? Maybe you love them. Maybe you could tell me I'm wrong. And you know, I'd love to like the Skrulls because they're here. And they're not going anywhere. And they're a huge part of Marvel history. And I wish I could like them. But I just can't right now. I just haven't in the past. And like I said, I want to. But did you watch Secret Invasion? Did you like the show? Please let me know. But that'll about do it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching. And as always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.